So I wanted to make this video today to talk just a little bit about how I feel about imposter syndrome. This comes from a question from someone on Facebook. Thank you, Dalton. And I thought that it was a really thoughtful question that is something that I've thought quite a bit about, particularly since I've started making these videos. I'm gonna just talk to the camera today. Often I will write out a script or something like that, and I thought that for this topic, actually spending some time and just talking at the camera and getting my thoughts out would actually be a really great way of, and therapeutic way of dealing with this. So I'm gonna try to do this in minimal cuts and minimal editing. Please, if you like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell. If you like stuff like this, please share it. And anyways, let me know what you think in the comments. Imposter syndrome. It's something that I've thought quite a bit about since making this channel, because it's something that it's hard not to think about when you're putting yourself out there all the time. When you're sharing intimate details about your life, which I don't think I've done that much of, but definitely have ideas for. It can be really easy to get stuck in thinking that you have to project this perfect persona that is curated to other people, because if you don't, it might ruin your career, or it might do this, or it might do that. Oftentimes I've noticed that with composers, what is good enough, or what you think is good enough, is almost entirely based off of your own personal perception and not based off of most reality. But it's not to say that it's not something that I experience, because it is something I do experience. I'm one that often says that performers like my music, but composers don't like my music, and that composers don't like my music because I don't care what composers think and I care what performers think. But that, I will say, is often a defense mechanism, because I think a lot about it, and it's hard to think that this thing that I've devoted much of my adult life to is something that maybe the other people in my field don't appreciate for whatever reason. And I know that that's not true. I know that there are plenty of people who like my music, composers, performers like my music because they play it, they commission me. But it can be really easy to get stuck in thinking that what other people think of your worth as a composer defines your worth as a composer. And I just don't know if that's very true, because at the end of the day, your own goals as a composer are yours. And if you find some sort of way of building that community or that network of people, the performers who will play your work, the composers who will appreciate, the audiences that will watch it, then I think that you've had a pretty successful career. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be famous. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get your work played all over the country all the time. But if you're doing it, and if you are getting things done, I think that first off, that is success. And so I think the first way that I think about imposter syndrome is having a better understanding of what your own definition of success is, and making sure that success is based around your own achievements and not on the way that it is represented among your colleagues or whatnot, because it is something I think about, and it is something that I've been working on, because like I said, I often feel like composers don't appreciate my work, and maybe part of it is this culture of applying for things and not getting them, but then when performers are adjudicating, I'm successful, or when performers reach out to me and ask me for commissions, they're doing that. And so if that's happening, what is it about me that makes a successful composer, or what is it about me that gets the performers to want to work with me? And in the last year or so, I've realized that I am someone that people like to be around. They like to work with. One of the things that I tell every performer that starts to work with me at the beginning is that at any time they're ever uncomfortable, at any time they're like, no, I don't like this, or hey, I'm not into this idea, I tell them I want them to speak up, because I think that for many performers, they don't feel comfortable speaking to a composer that way, because they're so used to this power dynamic and power imbalance between the composer and performer. And so I think that, like, by thinking so much about how much the performer feels and how what their well-being is, I've created this space that performers like being around, and they like being in, and they've told me that they like being in. But what does this have to do with imposter syndrome? Well, I've realized that, how do I deal with imposter syndrome? I think I've stopped defining my success as a composer based around other composers, but instead I base it around my own professional goals, my own professional compositional goals. And for me, probably the compositional goal that's one of the most important for me is to get performers who want to collaborate closely and form a bond and a relationship. And so that's kind of the first thought. But am I good enough? Am I a good composer? Do I think that I deserve to be almost a doctor in composition? And it is something I think about, and it is something that I think affects me and many people. And to be honest with you, I don't always feel that way, because it's weird. I'm almost 31. I have won a few things, but I have not won major awards. I struggle with, defining what my music is. Oftentimes there will be performers who ask me, what kind of music do you write? And I wrote a whole article about this, and I say that I don't really write one specific type of music, but I write a lot of different types of music that is very collaborative based. And the performers or the people asking don't always buy that answer, because they want composers who have a better sense of who they are as composers. And for me, it wasn't until this last year or so that I realized that my answer of that close relationship, that that relationship of collaboration is who I am as a composer. And I had to be okay with that. And so, removing this societal expectation to define your success around what other people think of you, and instead define your success about the ways that you think about yourself. And so, yeah, that's the main thing. And I know that doesn't really answer the full question. I know that there are lots of other, types of imposter syndrome. There's lots of different ways that people experience this. For me, the reason why that is so important is that I didn't have a lot of close relationships prior to, becoming an adult. When I was a kid, I didn't have very many friends. And honestly, even today, like, I have friends, I have a lot of acquaintances. I don't have a lot of people who I would say are my, like, very, very close, tight-knit group of people. I've had a few over the years, but, some of them fade out and they go away, and that was that. And I realized that I am not great at maintaining those long-term relationships as much as I think I am. And so I think that having an understanding of what your own personal needs are important. And so here's my main advice for you, is to look inward, and realize that your own needs in your own personal success, your own personal needs with relationships, your own concept of self-worth, they don't have to be defined by anyone. But I know oftentimes this is about defining yourself and thinking that you're not good enough. But I think that if you remove a lot of the external pressures from defining your own success, it's a lot harder to feel like you're an imposter, because you decide your own success. You define your own worth. And I said this to someone the other day, and I think I actually might even write a piece about it. The phrase that I think about a lot is, nobody is important, but everybody's special. You are important, you are special, but you aren't important in the grand scheme of the things. Nobody is. Nobody's that important. And so remove this idea that you are some important figure that needs to change the world, because I feel like putting that pressure on yourself is unnecessary. There's particularly as musicians, we're musicians. I think we do have this ability to affect change, but we also we're not curing cancer. We're not, doing this. We're not doing that. We're creating art, and I just don't think that anybody is so important that they're better than anybody else. So instead of thinking about you being, you're not good enough because of that, think about, well, actually, I am special because I exist on this world, and I matter. You do matter, and that is the important part, is that you matter even if you're not important. And so, anyways, that's all I want to say. Is a little longer than I wanted to talk, but when I don't have a script, that's what happens. So please, if you like videos like this, if you want to see me, stripped down a little bit more, just let me know in the comments below, or reach out to me. Like, share, subscribe, do all the things. Thank you for watching, and take care of yourself.